Food factory, are they worth for investment? Hi, my name is Alan from Alan Re Property. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about food factory. I know this is another boring topic that many of you will not be keen. Most of you are curious on HDB, new launch, resale condo, landed properties and so on. When I talk about non-residential properties, I know many of you will fall asleep or skip this video altogether. For those that have been following my channel long enough, you will know that I create content for knowledge and not so much on sales related. After all, I believe in empowering consumers to make better investment decisions. Nevertheless, this is a subject that I'm pretty curious on. I often ask myself, what are food factory? Where are they located? And most importantly, are they worth buying for investment? Can they make money or not? Without further ado, let's jump straight into food factory. I believe most of us will have dined in a restaurant or take away food from a food kiosk. Have you noticed that most of the food are consistent in taste across the outlets that you patronize? Well, this is because most of our food today are manufactured in factories. The chef only need to make hot, do some light seasoning and serve the food onto your plate. Most of the heavy lifting are done in the factory. Why is this so, you may ask? There are a few reasons that I can think of. Firstly, this allows the food that are served to us to be consistent across the outlets. Secondly, this helps to reduce manpower and labor costs, as machinery are more cost efficient to produce food in large quantity. Thirdly, retail space is expensive in Singapore. Most restaurants would prefer to set aside more space for dining than to build a huge kitchen. A food factory is pretty similar to any industrial factory space, except there are provision for higher electrical loading for the cooking equipment and cold rooms. There will be bigger waste disposable facilities for the food waste. There is also provision for gas, exhaust shaft and grease trap. There are also loading and unloading facilities to ease the movement of goods. So, where are the food factory located? As you know, factories are used for general industrial are usually zoned as either B1 or B2 industrial. However, most food factories that are used for food production are usually zoned B2 industrial as stated in URA master plan. This is because a food factory produces waste discharge, noise and smell and therefore are classified as heavy industrial trades. They are usually located on a list of areas or buildings approved for food use as stated by the Singapore Food Agency or SFA. They are located mainly in the north, east and west part of Singapore. They can be located in flatted factories such as those found in Woodland Loop, Sinoco to Admiralty. There are also others in the east such as Gourmet East Kitchen, K Food Link to standalone buildings. Most of the food factories are owned and managed by JTC or REITs. Only a small proportion are owned by single landlord that own the entire building, or by private individual that own those strata title factory space. In today's discussion, I will only be focusing on strata title factory space. In this segment, I've gone through the data for more than a dozen strata title factories. However, it seems that resale transaction is pretty low, especially for those that are newly completed ones. Here, I'll come back to them later. For our discussion, let us go to the north in specific. There are only one strata title food factory that have more data for our comparison. This factory is known as Food Exchange at Admiralty. It's sitting on a land area of 300,000 square feet. This means this is a mid-sized food factory. It's on 60 years lease from 2000 and TOP in 2009. To date, there are a healthy number of resale transactions over the past decade. A typical unit measured 2008 square feet will cost you 1.7 million. Whereas those slightly bigger at 3,900 square feet will cost 2.2 million upwards. In terms of PSF, they are trending close to 600 per square feet. Let us take a look at the profitable and unprofitable transaction. So far, there are 147 profitable transactions, with the last 10 transactions average a 780,000 in profit. This works out to 5.8% annualized return. Personally, I think this is pretty awesome return for the food factory. On the other hand, there are 3 unprofitable transactions. This is not very significant in my opinion. Here, why is food exchange at Admiralty doing so well? I can only conclude that food factory was a pretty new concept back a decade ago. Moreover, it's situated in the Admiralty Industrial Cluster, which is highly inaccessible and undeveloped back then. This means the initial selling price was kept low. For those that don't know, this place is near the popular Sembawang God of Wealth Temple or Sembawang Cai Sen Miao. I have left the links on the temple and location map in the description below. The rise in central kitchen and cloud kitchen has also accelerated the demand for such spaces. Moreover, food exchange is on a 60 years tenure and with a remaining lease of 36 years. This means end user and investor have room to exit in the future. The overall quantum below 2 million is also digestible to most buyers. However, that can't be said for other food factories that are in the range of 3 million and above. This is especially so for those newly built private-owned freehold ones. As such, prices is mainly suitable for end user to own their own factory and operate the space for themselves. I realize that most of them are sitting on small floor plates. They are not too efficient for the factory to operate. They also do not have provision for the 20 food container to ramp up directly to the unit. Some of these factories that are built in the older regime has airspace counted into their strata area. This means the usable space is actually smaller. These are some of the reasons why there are a lack of resale transactions in the market. On the other hand, let me share with you KA Food Link that I visited. This factory space is owned and managed by Mapletree Industrial REITs. Let me bring you around the factory. As you enter the car park, there is ample parking space for both tenants and visitors. As I walk towards the lift lobby, there is a huge tenant directory and I assume there is high occupancy rate. The factory is a 6-story high with rows of food production units lining up along the long corridor. There is also provision for cargo lifts on both ends and the loading bay are located on the ground floor. As I leave the premises, I can feel the spaciousness and practical use of space. That is why such factory space are sought after by company to house their production facility, even on lease. For your info, do you know I love to visit factories? Not because of this YouTube video, but rather there are a lot of lobang in the industrial estate if you know where to find them. Especially come Chinese New Year, there will be a lot of warehouse sales located from Boon Lay to Pandan Loop to Woodlands. One such example is this J&C Bakery along Woodland Loop that I always patronize. They sell halal cakes and pastry. It's ideal for gathering and parties. You can check out their opening hours and direction in the description below. Anyway, some of you may ask me, how come there is a retail shop in an industrial estate? Well, this is considered as a showroom. URA allows showroom in industrial premises provided it fulfills certain conditions. And most importantly, SLA may access such showroom based on Group A commercial rate for the purpose of computing land betterment charges. In layman terms, if you want to convert part of your production space into a showroom, you need to pay taxes. So next time you see such a space, don't assume it is illegal. Most likely they have applied to the authority for change of use. Some may argue, why must apply change of use and pay taxes? Well, this is Singapore. And if everyone suka change of use, then my downstairs mama shop can start to convert it into a pub and start charging double for a glass of beer. Here, who will benefit? Obviously, it is to the retailer advantage and not the consumer. That is why the authority need to tax them to cream off part of their extra profit for nation building. Here, where to find money to pay for workfare, Merdeka package, subsidized MOE school fees to clean public parks that we all enjoy. Think about it, if I make sense to you. Here, I've come to the end of this video. If you happen to own any factory space and have plans to sell or rent out, I'll be more than happy to assist you. After all, I also transacted factory before. You no worry. That's all. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon.